Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are tuning in from today. Welcome back to the Barrett channel for a brand new video. This is an excerpt from our live show, our Q&A at the weekend. It went really well. This was a very interesting discussion about a comment that came in. It's regarding futuristic technology that's being implemented in the tier 1 cities in China, as well as privacy differences between the West and Chinese. I hope you stick around. The whole 2-hour show is now behind our paywall on Patreon, as well as all of the other live shows that we've ever taken part in on Patreon too. There's also more exclusive content over there that you can check out behind our $5 a month tier. That's just the price of a Starbucks each month, and it goes a massive way to help the channel and to get us to be able to create more content for you. So hope to see you over there. The link is down in the description. Hope you enjoy the video. Junebug 22, thank you very much. Do you guys plan to make more videos about new technology developments in China? While the US is imploding, China seems to be moving forward at warp speed. You're absolutely right. And we're both quite interested in technology. You more so than I am.
Yeah.
You're reading up about technology, all day, every day. And we've got an idea in the works. We were lucky enough to go to Huawei invited us to their headquarters, and they showed us some of the new and upcoming technology, and some technology that's in place that they have that's kind of behind the consumer's eyes. Mm-hmm. And some of it just blew our minds. Just tell us a little bit about the smart city that they have going on.
Yeah, they have this smart city sort of software and hardware which they implement. And it's actually been implemented in Shenzhen. And what we're trying to get something organized where we can actually go and see this smart city hardware and software in operation. But just to give you an idea of some of the things it can do, so they have these cameras that monitor.
Sorry, can I just? What is smart city for the people who have no idea?
So basically, it monitors things going on in a city. So it monitors traffic, it monitors people. When I say monitors people, not individual people. It monitors the flow of people from various areas of the city. It monitors pollution in the cities. It monitors traffic. It monitors emergency services and this kind of thing. So just to give you one example of what this system can do is it will monitor traffic. So it controls traffic lights and signals and sort of the flow of traffic to keep the traffic flowing as best as it possibly can through a city. But if then the cameras detect an accident without any, human intervention, it can dispatch police and emergency services to the scene of that accident. So these are the kind of things.
Can I just add on to what it was doing with that? So it would also be monitoring who the closest emergency services are, how many of them are free, and also the nearest hospitals, and how many patients are being looked after in those hospitals,
to see if the hospital has capacity
to work on that accident. So all of that stuff. Go on, carry on.
And I'm into technology, but it absolutely blew my mind. It was absolutely amazing, and obviously they're rolling out this kind of stuff in cities all around the world. But Shenzhen, being the home of Huawei, have adopted this as one of the first cities. And we are trying to be able to get in to actually do some film there to show you in a real situation of how it works.
Yeah.
And don't know when that'll happen, but we are working on it. But the other thing I want to say, when we were at Huawei, we were told that the technology they're currently developing won't be in the market for around about 5 years.
You said 5 to 10 years.
5 to 10 years. That's how far ahead that they're working. And so the stuff we're seeing now is stuff that they've been working on like 5 years ago. So they really are, pushing forward. And I think that one of the reasons I think this is that in the Chinese government, there are a lot of sort of scientists and engineers. So it's not just kind of career politicians. There are a lot of scientists and engineers. So I think that helps push this innovation forward. Whereas in the West, I think that the governments lack a lot of scientists and engineers. So I think that's a big difference that's made here.
We all know that the technology and stuff that's used in the military and stuff like that is more advanced than what we're exposed to. Mm-hmm. But that really gave us like an actual tangible, visual on how much more advanced it is than what we get to use.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just adding on to the smart city thing, you will get a lot of people, especially in the West, twisting that to make it sound like it's this, they're just spying on using it to spy on the people and stuff like that. And the guy, he was actually from Kazakhstan, who was giving us the tour of Huawei's technology of this smart city. And he was telling us some statistics on, what the benefits it's bringing to society.
Yeah.
And one of them was about how much less crime there is, and how many less accidents there are.
Yeah.
And how many, he was saying how many more accidents can actually be dealt with before a person dies, because that can be done so much quicker. And I think the one bringing down crime or preventing crime from happening, it was around the 30-40%. So they're big numbers. And if you could implement some technology into a city that brings down crime by 30 or 40%, how anyone can put a bad spin on that just blows my mind. Because
I just have a very interesting piece of information which I read yesterday. So if you look at the Western countries, they bash China about this face recognition, and it's very interesting now. President Trump has come out with a statement that they think they should ban Microsoft from any government contracts because Microsoft won't share their facial recognition technology with the states. But basically, Microsoft has says until there's proper laws implemented to control the use of facial recognition technology, they won't sell it. They won't license it to organizations, to federal organizations in the states. And Donald Trump's kicked up a fuss about that, saying that, okay, if you're not going to share it with us and let us use it, we're going to ban you from all government contracts as Microsoft. So there's this, again, it's a very double standards. And if you look at, there's some high-ranking police in the UK saying that if they had this facial recognition system in the UK and they implemented it, they would be able to cut crime by a significant amount. Because what this system does, it doesn't follow everybody. What they do, if they have somebody who's committed a crime or suspected of committed a crime, they will feed that person's data into the system. And then, if they're struggling to find out, you've obviously got to realize that when you're looking for a criminal in a population of over 1 billion people, it's not as easy as if you're looking for that criminal in a population of 100,000 people. So you implement this technology to help you catch the criminals. And what they're doing with AI as well is you can sort of, they can pick up suspicious behavior. So if somebody is in a place where they necessarily shouldn't seem, if there's people in a place where you wouldn't expect people to be at a certain time of night, then the system will alert the authorities and the police can go and check out, well, what are these people doing, standing at the back of this, bank at 2:00 in the morning, and the system can then trigger the right people to go and look into that. So it's actually a crime prevention as well, because they're using this AI technology, and I think eventually most cities across the world will implement this kind of thing. It's just that in China the population are less paranoid about their so-called privacy than people in the West. So things tend to get implemented here because they see it for the good of the overall population. They don't look at it as I'm personally going to lose some privacy. They see it as these systems are implemented because it's for the good of the wider population. That's a big difference between here and Western countries, I think.
Yeah, I think like people forget that not forget. I'll just give an example of when I came here. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. When I had a very, profound experience when I came here, and I'd go on walks at night at like 10 o'clock at night and just sort of explore the area. And straight away I was noticing like 15-year-old girls walking around at 11 p.m. at night on their own, just using their phone. And I thought, wow, I've never seen that before. Like even in like my village, there would be, the village I lived in England, that would be like, whoa, you wouldn't do that. But here they can be quite safe to know that the crime is much less, especially in these first tier cities. Yeah. One, because the criminal punishment is a lot worse, and two, because of the surveillance. So
yeah. And that has only come in, when I first came to China 12 years ago, I was in Shanghai and there was, and I know for a fact at that time, there was a lot more crime. I remember going into McDonald's and KFC in Shanghai at that time and Guangzhou, and there'd be signs saying, be careful of your phone. And you would see people like loitering around, and they would be waiting for somebody to just leave a handbag unattended for a few seconds or put a phone down, and they would snatch it and run. And I had friends at that time who did a lot of business in Shenzhen and Dongguan, and they said, you've got to be really careful when you go there because there's much more crime there is in Shanghai. And this was only sort of 10 or 12 years ago. And in that time, because they've implemented all these systems, which are based on cameras primarily, the crime rate has dropped massively. You speak to most people now who live in these big cities, and they say, we're not worried about crime at all, because if somebody now commits a crime here, it's more than likely they will get caught, because they will be caught on some CCTV somewhere.
Absolutely.
So it actually becomes a deterrent, because they know they're going to get caught. They don't do it in the first place. Now, that's not to pretend there's no crime goes on here at all. Of course there is. But it's massively, massively reduced to what it was when we didn't have, or when those systems were not here.
Yeah, and I'm personally, if you're not doing anything criminal, then I would rather take that bit of loss of privacy and have my what's the word I'm looking for, the security in the city and the freedom to go out at night and stuff.
And I think what you also have to remember, when you're dealing with cities with so many people, you have to make systems very, very slick. Otherwise, you create massive bottlenecks of people. So if you look at kind of metro stations, railway stations, you have to have ways. And I think this is the sort of more driving force behind this facial recognition and this sort of electronic technology. A lot of it is developed to get people through. So just give you an example. If you go to a busy metro station, and right now we use our phone, and we have a QR code on our phone on an app that you use to go into the station and get on the metro. But at busy times, if you get one person in front of you that can't get that QR code up very quickly, they may take an extra 10 seconds because it hasn't loaded properly on their phone or something. Within like 10 seconds, there's a queue of maybe 20 or 30 people built up at those barriers, simply because of the volume of people coming through. So what they've started to experiment in Beijing and Shanghai, I believe, is facial recognition. So as you're walking towards that barrier to open, it's picked up your face, it's recognized who you are, and it's opened the barrier for you to go through. So it's, these kind of things are just to speed up the flow of people. And also if you take the recent coronavirus outbreak. So when you go on a metro, you scan a code. That's because that then registers that you've been in that particular carriage on that particular metro at that particular time of day. And that data is used. If they then find somebody positive, COVID-19 positive, on that same train or in that same carriage, they can contact you. Now, if you had facial recognition going into there, that you wouldn't have to then scan that, so because they know you'd been on that particular train.
Right.
So there's all these things where if you look at it from if you take away let's say the privacy aspect, which, as I says, people are not so concerned with here because they see these systems as a benefit for the wider society, where I think that's a somewhat very different in Western developed countries.
Yeah, and I just want to add one more point onto that with the privacy thing. There's been several times where I've gone, let's take this example for ease of purpose. We went into a shop and they've got this new, sort of device which allows you to just pay with your face for WeChat. This was not actually Alipay. And I was with Christine, my girlfriend at the time, and she was like, oh, wow, it's just a convenience store and I haven't even had to get my phone out. And she's only seeing positive in that. She's like, oh, well, it's so convenient. I've literally, I'm in and out within 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Whereas even when, I remember when Google Pay and Apple Pay was starting to come into effect in England, and I was working behind a checkout at a supermarket, and most of the older people would go, oh, no. I'd say you can use your phone to pay if you like, or tap your credit card on the machine. No, I can't be doing that. They're going to be stealing my details and stealing my money. Like, they'll only see it as like a negative in terms of, they're going to get more data about me. They're going to steal my details and whatnot. So there's a massive change.
But what's funny is those same people, they're quite happy to sign up for one of these so-called loyalty cards at a supermarket.
Exactly. Or tick the terms and conditions of every website.
And they all, these supermarket loyalty cards in the West, they collect so much data. A lot of those supermarkets know more about your shopping habits than you yourself. And the other thing,
give that example you said about women getting pregnant. And
there was a store, I believe it was Target in the US. They could tell when women were pregnant based on their buying habits. And that is
before they even knew.
Yeah,
sometimes.
They sent a mailer to a household in the US, and they basically were advertising baby stuff, and this girl's father got quite annoyed about it, but it turns out that his daughter was in fact pregnant, and the store had sort of picked it up before, like, I guess she had even realized herself.
Yeah, because of her buying habits.
Because of her buying habits.
So that shows the power of data.
And the other thing I would say is many Westerners, people cite this privacy thing, yet most of those who have a social media profile, if they're active on Facebook and Twitter, they give most of that information away for free. You go onto people's public page of Facebook, there'll be their pictures all over it. There'll be their birthdays on there, what music they like, what films they like. Then they might use one of these apps where they check into restaurants to show where they're friends. So, where they've eaten, where they've shopped. So actually, sometimes they give more of this information away than they actually realize. So, it's a bit of a...
It's just the lack of awareness that they're doing that, isn't it?
Absolutely.